Well, hi everybody, my name is Hannah Richardson and I work for MRAG, which is a consultancy in London, and I'll be presenting the benchmark tool which has been developed for product labelling. So my slide will move on. One.
It will, honestly it will.
Just takes the time.
Yeah, try using your arrow keys if your mouse is not working.
Yeah. I mean, it moved forward about 2 seconds ago. Oh, okay, it's happening, it's just slow.
Sorted.
Okay, perfect, thank you. The problem, just to sort of briefly provide an overview, but I'm sure most of you are already aware, in 2018, fish production reached 179 million tonnes, of which 156 million tonnes was for human consumption. And in combination with this increase in fish production has also been an increase in fish consumption, which is now thought to be increasing at a faster rate than population growth. It is now thought that the average person consumes twice as much seafood as they did 50 years ago. And this is not only due to an increase in production, but also because of many other factors, such as technological developments, reduction in waste and loss, and also an increase in consumer awareness of the health benefits that seafood can provide. And as you can see from these two figures, this shows the difference in fish and seafood consumption per capita between 1967 on the left and 2017 on the right, with the darker blue indicating a higher consumption of fish. So as you can see quite clearly, there has been sort of a overall global increase in fish consumption. And at the same time as this increase in consumption and production, there's also been a continual decline in marine fish stocks. And again, as you can see from this graph by the FAO, approximately a third of all fish stocks are now fished at biologically unsustainable levels. So the challenge in meeting this demand is going to be to ensure that production and consumption is environmentally, economically and socially sustainable. And one of the solutions that's becoming increasingly popular in recent times is that of voluntary or private standards. And these are usually implemented by a private entity, whether commercial, non-commercial, and can cover a range of subjects from traceability, environmental, social, and increasingly food safety and food quality. And these standards enable you to influence the market and also create incentives for sustainability. And standards are a very effective policy tool for the EU, and this is because of the benefits they can provide. And this includes competitiveness in the industry. It helps to enhance and promote innovation, and also allows you to promote and protect environmental and human health. And at the same time, public authorities are increasingly engaging with industry to implement good practice when it comes to food safety and food management. And really sort of shifting the responsibility to industries to demonstrate their own due diligence and accept liability for any issues. And again, private or voluntary standards can be another way for companies to do this. Some of the other benefits of private or voluntary standards includes it allows you to respond to specific risks across the supply chain. So this is from food production to transport, processing. It allows you to respond to this heightened interest from consumers for environmentally and ethically sourced food. They can often go further than public standards by setting a higher threshold or a target for certain values. They can increase the scope of activities covered by the standard, so this allows you to look at from catch all the way through to final sale. It also allows you to provide specific details or guidance on how the outcomes of the standard can be met. So it really allows you to focus on the process. And finally, it allows companies to distinguish their products on the market. So considering the benefits of private standards, and also as a way to organise some of the products that you've been hearing about earlier in this meeting, we have developed a benchmark tool. And the purpose of the benchmark tool is one, to allow consumers, for industry to reproduce the innovative products that are being developed. It also allows us then to monitor and assess these companies to ensure that they are adhering to the specific specifications that have been designed, so that these companies can make the distinct value-added safety or nutritional claims, such as reduced sodium or higher in iodine, higher in selenium. And finally, it allows companies to consider more social, environmental, and ethically sustainable practices. Where relevant, this tool utilises existing internationally accepted standards such as ISO, and this is to reduce the burden not only on the auditor and the auditee, but also not to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of these standards already out there, and it's sort of, we deemed it most pragmatic to sort of rely on standards where we could. It also aims to complement existing EU legislation, but again, as I mentioned, it's enabled us to go slightly further and set higher targets for certain nutrients and minerals. So the tool itself is split into 3 phases. The first phase assesses industries or a company's scope and eligibility to enter an assessment. The second phase is the audit itself, and then the third phase looks at internal traceability of that company. And this benchmark tool can be seen as sort of the first step in developing a full certification standard. But due to the sort of time restrictions within the Seafood Tomorrow project, at this stage it's very much sort of a pilot study, but definitely has the scope to be sort of developed further into a full certification standard. So just to provide you a brief overview of the products that are included in the tool. So some of these you will have heard about already. So there are 3 fortified farm fish, which is sea bream, carp and trout. And this relates not only to the enhanced fish fillets themselves, but also to the fortified feed that's been developed. 2 sodium reduced salmon products, 6 nutritionally adapted seafoods products for youth, pregnant women and seniors, the 3 strategies to decontaminate and improve the safety of seafood products, and then finally the 2 strategies that looked at industrial processing to reduce energy and water consumption. So I just wanted to provide you sort of a brief overview of how the assessment would work in practice. So to start with, a company would express an interest to develop one of the Seafood Tomorrow products, and also an interest in carrying a Seafood Tomorrow label, which I'll sort of show you a bit later in the presentation, that's been developed specifically for this product. And upon receiving an application, the entity would then receive a pre-audit questionnaire. And as I mentioned, this relates to phase 1, so the scope and eligibility of that company to enter the assessment is assessed. And there are some questions in here which may render the entity ineligible to continue with an audit. And this includes if it's previously violated human trafficking laws or environmental regulations, and it's just a way for us to initially filter out companies that don't meet the sort of higher standards that Seafood Tomorrow demands. But if the company is eligible, the assessment can begin, and certain aspects of the supply chain are scored against a 4-tiered scoring system. And this consists of an unconditional pass, a pass with an observation, which means that something's been identified that while it doesn't sort of affect the integrity of the product, should be monitored. A pass with improvement, which means that the outcome has been slightly affected, but that the product is still able to meet the required nutritional and safety claims as required by EU legislation, but that this issue would have to be rectified by the next audit. And then finally, corrective action. And corrective action means that something's been identified that affects the integrity of the product, so that it no longer conforms with the Seafood Tomorrow specifications. And in this case, the entity would have 6 months to implement an action plan to rectify the issue, after which it would be reassessed and it would be determined whether the sort of company passes the audit. So if the company passes the audit, it is able to display a Seafood Tomorrow label, which has been designed specifically for this product. And as you can see on this slide, on the right, we have a label designed for individual claims, and on the left, a label designed for some products that have multiple claims. And these labels are valid for 12 months, after which the company would need to undergo a surveillance audit to make sure that it's still conforming with the required specifications and that there haven't been any changes. And these labels will allow companies to market to consumers, and also allows consumers to identify and sort of help influence them making better, more sustainable choices. On each label, there is a QR code, and this QR code is able to be scanned by consumers, and it links to a smartphone application and provides them with a bit more information on the background of the product, how it was developed, and also the benefits that it provides for them. So in summary, the benchmark tool has been designed to organise some of the products that have been developed in Seafood Tomorrow. It allows companies to reproduce the innovative products and also to make certain nutritional or safety claims. It can reward companies with a private standard label. And finally, it provides extra assurance of social, environmental and sustainably good practices.